Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Thursday, October 6th, and we are on the verge of another cold front. We've had a couple of warm days here with some nice weather, and a lot of you guys have been out there taking full advantage of the light winds and I guess Indian summer, right? It's been mid-70s, so and we are headed back down to the 50s, it sounds like, maybe tomorrow and for the next few days. So that means we're going to have another northerly blow out there. And we've been getting calls from folks from around the country that are planning on coming up here fishing. And one of the questions they always ask about is about water clarity. And, you know, right now at this time of the year, you're going to have some really crazy weather patterns, right? We're going to get warm fronts with these southerly blows, although it hasn't blown real hard out of the south. But when we get these cold fronts that come in, and like we got coming in tonight, you're going to get a hard north blow. And when that happens, that south end of the lake is going to get beat up. And that also means that shoreline, that the south shoreline of Anchor Bay is going to get beat up. And it means Lake Huron is going to get beat up, and it's going to pump dirty water down into the lake. And if you look at the satellite image, that's what you're going to see right now from that last cold front that we had come in a few days ago before this warm-up, and it's going to happen again. The good news is the water along the shoreline on the American side for probably a couple of miles out is pretty darn clear. I was actually at a meeting today down on Belle Isle, and I got a chance to drive the shoreline going down there. It was a DNR meeting that we have twice a year. Oh, and by the way, in that meeting, for you guys trying to keep a handle on what's going on with the boat launches, Crocker boat launch is scheduled to be done before we freeze up. Hopefully that's going to happen, meaning it's supposed to be done end of November going into the beginning of December, and we should actually have access to that, at least for ice fishing access, this winter, and then it'll open up, you know, fully open in the spring. That's the plan. And that's Crocker Road boat launch. Now Harley, they were supposed to be doing a renovation on that. That has been postponed now until 2024. And when they do that, they're going to do both the parking lot, I'm understanding, and the boat launch at the same time. So when they do that, it could be a complete shutdown. So, but the good news is at least we'll hopefully have Crocker fully functional by long before 2024, so hopefully the end of this year. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and as more information becomes available or timelines change, I will try to let you know. So anyways, yeah, so I went down there to Belle Isle, and that whole drive down along the lake, the water looked absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I was like going, why am I going to this meeting and not fishing right now? Clarity looked fantastic. It was nice and calm. There was a few guys out there. It looked like they were down in that area that I've been talking about for walleye down there near the Delphine. Although they could have been smallie fishing, they could have been perch fishing, or they could have been muskie fishing down there, because all of the above happens down in that southern corner of the lake at this time of the year, from the Detroit River all the way up past the Delphine. And personally, I believe that the smallies, I think, are local fish. I believe a lot of those walleyes and a lot of the perch are literally fish that are moving up from the lower system and down from like Breast Bay down on Erie. It happens every fall. It seems like we literally get a push of fish in mid to October-ish time period up into that into the lake, and then you can usually follow them, and they just kind of move up into the lake farther and farther to the north as the season goes on. So anyways, but a lot of that starts down there for whatever reason down there on that south end. Doesn't mean that you can't catch fish in other areas of the lake. It just seems like there's a huge concentration of fish of many different species down in that southern end of the lake, all around the Delphine Channel, out to the channel itself, and then working its way up the lake. So with that perch action, looks like it is picking up now out in front of the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, which I was just talking about, right? But out there and all the way up into the 9 Mile area, and some of those fish are starting to come in tighter and tighter, and I would expect that just to continue. As a matter of fact, with the water temperatures, and I probably didn't say the water temp yet, but water temp is like today was up to 62, but it's been down as far as to like 60 over the last, just before this little warm up. And I would imagine now that we're going to get this another cold front in here with these nights down in the 30s, you're going to see the shallows drop off it's going to be considerable, the change. You're probably going to go into the mid-50s here by the middle of next week, at least in the shallows along the American side. You're going to see that deeper water out there in the middle of the lake, near the main shipping channel, is probably not going to drop as fast right now, because right now Lake Huron is actually going to act like a little bit of a buffer to slow that process down. It's going to take a little longer to cool that water down up there, but once we get down to like that 39-degree temp, then then all heck breaks loose. But we're a ways from that yet. But anyways, so water temps are going to start really dropping off. With the water temps as low as they are right now in the 60s, really the water temp is almost not a factor. We're almost getting to the point where it's a reverse factor, whereas you'll start to see bait fish congregating around the different river mouths, like mouth of the Clinton River, mouth of the Spillway, even Black Creek coming out of the Metro Park there will actually tend to, not only will it put out like off-colored water in those different places, but it's going to put out relatively warm water, and that's going to be a draw for a lot of different species. It might not be a bad bet for you guys to really start checking some real super shallow spots, especially if you got some off-colored water in those areas. And probably a spot that I was just thinking about as I was just looking at my notes for this report tonight is a lot of times this time of the year, that Crocker Road boat launch, when we do have access and are launching there, a lot of times that boat launch itself becomes a really good spot to fish for perch. And definitely First Ice, if you guys know, First Ice in that little bay right there by the boat launch is usually phenomenal. So at some point in time here, those fish are going to move in there. So I'd always rather be Johnny on the spot and be the first guy in there on those fish than be hearing about it a week later. The same thing goes for the boat launch at Harley. In that actual basin right there, in the right out in front of the boat launch, this side of the rock jetty, there's a lot of times there's perch right in there as well too. And a lot of times guys don't even try it until they get like a blow day or something, and they end up stuck in there and drop a line in and bang, it's like, oh my gosh, there's perch here. So don't forget to try those places. Even over there by my McInrays, out there in the channel coming out of McInrays this time of the year, that's another spot over there. For those not familiar with it, that's over by the Air National Guard base. So if you come out of the Selfridge boat launch and hang a hard right and follow that shoreline down, where those boat launches, where those marinas are down there, McInrays Marina, the channels coming out from McInrays, a lot of times, like 8-10 foot of water on those weed edges, there'll be perch there as well. So, and maybe walleyes too. So it's time to start thinking a lot more shallow, especially with the water clarities changing. This time of the year now, when the water's getting cooler, you're going to find that it doesn't clear up nearly as fast as it does during the summertime, when you can get a blow and then you can have the water clean right back up. This time of the year, it generally seems to stay milkier, and I think that's because the zebra mussels aren't filtering quite as much. The water is more dense, so the sediment doesn't settle nearly as fast. So you're going to start to see there's going to be more color in the water, and use that to your advantage when you're fishing shallow. Let's see, what else do we got going on? Specific fish species for you guys chasing muskies, this is the time of the year when the American side really does usually start to light up. Like I said, especially around those river mouths, especially by that spillway, and then up into the spillway. I don't think that's got going yet, but it is going to very soon. Let's see, trying to think here, what else I got for you guys. Boats are starting to come out of the marinas. So for you kayakers, you can still get in there now, and you can start to get more access to fishing spots that we're almost in the dock season, but not quite yet. That's usually once we get into November when those boats have to be out of there. And that's also when we'll start, once all the boats are out, we'll start letting guys into that marina behind Selfridge, but we're about a month away from that. It sounds like most of the marinas are requiring everybody to have their boats out usually it's by about the middle of November. So right around gun season is when those boats got to come out. I know, just talking with a lot of the local charter captains, some of them have got openings, and this time of the year is just phenomenal for big fish. So you got guys like Garrett Samsel out there right now that's doing the multi-species charters. and I've been watching him, and they're catching limits of walleye. So I didn't talk specifically about walleyes, but that walleye bite up there on the St. Clair River has definitely picked up. I know the whippers at night are doing a lot better now, and there's guys jigging down to the Detroit River. There's guys jigging out of the Detroit River, up in the channel, up into the lake, several buoys in. So if you know those fish are there, there should be fish on the banks too. So running bandits and that, like I was just saying, down in that south end of the lake, that should be getting really good. So you got, so anyways, you got Garrett doing the multi-species charters up there. He's doing muskies. They're taking limits of walleye, still catching lots of smallies up there. You got some great captains like Jason Quintano and Spencer Berman, that this time of the year, guys, the muskie fishing is unbelievable out there, whether you want to cast or you want to troll. But I mean, you can get into some really amazing shallow muskie action this time of the year, especially casting. So it's phenomenal. And you got that amazing sturgeon fishery up there on the St. Clair River. I know Michael Downey with Relentless Grind Charters up there, they're just catching all kinds of sturgeon. It's crazy the different year classes of fish, from some little guys to mid-sized to some just absolute giants, including like some of the fish that they caught in that tournament in the Classic a couple of weeks ago, like 74 inches. I mean, 120-pound fish. It's just amazing. So. And then you got guys like Mike Martin all the way up in Saginaw Bay. I always keep track of Mike up there too. And sounds like he's on some big perch again up there for Mike Martin Outdoors. So there's a lot of charter captains and guides out here in the area that could, if you're from out of state and you're not familiar, especially with the fall fishery up here, it's a great way to go out and just learn a little bit about the lake. And it's at a time of the year when the boat traffic is like way down. So it's a much more pleasant time to fish Lake St. Clair. You don't have the bugs, and you're not getting bugged by all the boat traffic out there as well. So it's a great time to get out and enjoy it if you're not out in the woods hunting right now, which I know a lot of you guys are. So if we get some nice weather coming in, and it looks like we're going to have some decent weather again this weekend, it's a great time to get out there and enjoy Lake St. Clair. And we do have emerald shiners again at the shop, which is a great thing, especially for you perch guys. So get out and enjoy it, and we'll see you at the stores this weekend.